How about that? Let's do it. Hey, welcome to the Closing Beat, everybody. Good afternoon, you beautiful people out there. How you doing? Hope all is well with you. Welcome to our show. We are financial advisors here at Jazz Wealth. If you're trying to get your dough straight and you need some help, but you don't want that, sales tactics, all that nonsense that's out there, we actually post everything about us right on the homepage there. Our biggest thing is just being transparent. We'll tell you anything and everything you want to know. Actually, I always tell people, there's no question you can't ask me. You can ask anything you like. I may not know the answer, but I'm happy to help out there. We're going to talk about the stock market here today. What an interesting start to the week. Was it? Was it really an interesting start, or was it kind of normal, actually? We'll talk about that. Also, on our notes from Jazz today, if you're interested, Eric did a video on what in the world is the deal with those I-bonds, talking about the details of that. Is that something you should consider? What are the pitfalls and all that good stuff looking around there? In our notes from Jazz, that's an email that we do every weekend for clients. I covered 4 mistakes, went back to the old 4 mistakes there that clients make here with us, right? And a lot of it's just like, not knowing that they can ask certain questions and stuff, and I've got to do better at that. So pointed out some things that maybe you didn't know that we can do for you that is all included. We don't have any secret like hidden charges or play any games or anything like that. We just like helping work you through there. As you grow, we grow. That's our rule around here. It does not work the other way. So check us out at jazzwealth.com. All right, let's look at the S&P here today. We won't take much of your time. Off to the right-hand side of your screen, we were down 1%. What's interesting is early this morning, like really early, futures markets were actually up over 1%. So we had a decent gain to start the day. It was like, yeah, all right, here we go. It's going to be good. And then we just started fading throughout the day. And it was just one little thing after another. It wasn't like some big headline that rocked the markets or anything. Just one little thing after another where people said, I don't know if I want to be a part of this. If you take a look over here, here is the S&P. We're flirting with the idea of making new lows there. Is it going to happen or not? On the up days, we see a little participation, like a little heavier in financials, and energies had some good days here and there. But all in all, the up days are broad days, meaning every area is strong. That's not good for the stock market. We need to see individual strength first. As you see that, then you start to realize that people believe the risk is on. That's the fancy way they say it on TV anyways. Risk on, risk off. Risk on would be going in for tech, going in for some of the consumer discretionary stocks and things like that, communication services as well. So not quite there yet, right? It doesn't look like the market's saying, this is our floor, take it or leave it, because this is what you get there. If we look around the stock market today, your leaders came in the solar space after having a bit of a rough day on Friday, it looks like there. Joe Manchin, Senator Joe Manchin is the one standing in the way at the moment of the green energy bill. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. But he's standing in the way of that, saying that's too much money. We don't need to be spending that kind of money. So solar stocks actually benefited from that here today. They're free to move and do everything as they want to. I'll point out Enphase, there we go, hinting at a bit of a breakout here, equal highs and stronger than the other solar stocks out there, at least at the moment. If you look around the downside today, big tech, right? Can't get the market to move without your big tech stocks, and Apple wasn't going to be a part of that one here today. They're going to slow down their hiring. They're just the latest to say that. It's not new news or anything. Alphabet working on this. You may notice the price change here. We'll talk about that in a second. That's now split, the 20-for-1. So got a little split there in Alphabet. Looking around the stock market, healthcare refused to participate today. And in fact, if I could just point this out real quick, XLV is one way to look at the healthcare sector. That was your weakest of the day, losing 2%. And as we look around the healthcare area, which remember, these have been stronger, so it's been some of the stronger areas lately. They've been taking a break. Johnson & Johnson, one of the weaker ones. Eli Lilly as well, which is the strongest, I believe, out of all of them. AbbVie pulling back as well, and Merck right off of highs. You'd have to say Eli Lilly and Merck currently rank as some of the strongest if you're looking to participate in that area of the market there. What else do we have? Let's look at the NASDAQ here. So the NASDAQ a little bit lower. That's not rocket science to figure that out. You've got the bigger names weaker on the day, even Microsoft as well. I tell you, Meta was higher. Not by much, but 1.5%. It's trying. It's a tough one to invest in lately, but it's trying to move higher. I'll point out quickly here, oil. Every single stock in the energy space was higher today as oil right off the 200-day. Been talking about this for days. So just right off the 200-day, very good technical area for people to look at. They will first go look at the stocks that are stronger. And this one's really simple. You go stocks that have yet to pull back to the 200-day like ExxonMobil. That would be some of the stronger ones, whereas ConocoPhillips, see it there, weaker than the rest. So this is relatively weak compared to the XLE, or the energy sector, if you want to look around. It's easy to do a scan and look through energy stocks, but if you want to dig around the small ones, the large ones, the best performers, Occidental Petroleum is the best performer year to date. I believe it's still up about 100%. As of this point anyways, being the Warren Buffett favorite there. And that's what you have going on there. Nonetheless, the price of oil, you're going to get a little bounce here, but oil has pulled back quite a bit. It's good for investors. It's bad for you at the pump, of course. Rates set a little bit higher here today after pulling back last week. So bonds moving lower, rates moving higher. That's how that works there. And gold, nothing. It tried a little bit of a rally today. Nobody's interested in gold. I mean, I don't know what it takes to get that to turn around, but that is not the inflation hedge, as I've been mentioning here. Bitcoin people, if you're out there back above 20,000, this is just the area it's been floating in. Nothing new to report there. And sector-wise, I want to point out a couple things here. Anything related to energy today, oil or oil service, oil explorers, like we're showing on the screen here, all very strong. Oil holders or oil service stocks up 4% on the day, and of course the price of oil up 4.5%. One thing we don't talk about a lot, the dollar. So the dollar's officially traded above its pre-COVID high, which is usually consistent with a weak market. Strong dollar, weak U.S. stock market. You can see that here. It's fairly reliable, right? Now, when you look at the dollar, you go, I don't know what this means. What are we doing here? Looking at the dollar. I don't know if this is interesting to you, but we're going to try this. A strong dollar starts to show itself in weakening sectors first. Did you know that? So dollar gets stronger. You go, why is this sector just beaten down here? Really, really tough here. And this has to do with how exposed the sector is, and down to the individual stock, of exposed to international revenues, right? So the more revenue a stock gets overseas when the dollar is strong, that's not so good for them, right? The dollar is strong over here. We want to have revenues in the United States where we can go out and spend that strong dollar, right? So that's the case there. If I show you here, I got a little something right here. There you go. International revenue by sector. We've done this in the past by stock individually, but you could see tech and materials. If you were to look at the screen there, tech and materials have the most exposure, 45 and 49% respectively there. And so when you look at the year-to-date performance of tech, there's other things weighing on it, of course, materials as well, but that's not a good sign. They want a weaker dollar if you're getting more of your revenue overseas. Now, they're not getting more than half, but still, that's a big chunk. Imagine if that was somehow a weighting on the market. Well, that would be a heavy weight on the market. So more revenues overseas, not really a good thing. If you look down here to the bottom, utilities and real estate have always and historically been very low. Utilities obviously are providing power here in the States, not really overseas. And real estate is most of the time focused on U.S. real estate, apartment buildings, hotels, data centers, and things like that. We're doing that here in the States. That only accounts for very little there. In financials, you could say as well. Outside of the large financials, a lot of banks, they're just here in the States, right? So revenue exposure, it can affect the total value of the sector, but it can also affect the total value of a particular stock. Now, we could take it further, and we could say, well, hey, okay, tech is exposed to international revenues a lot more there. Let's go a step further and look at the correlation between the dollar and the performance of a sector. Now, we truncated this a little bit to make it fit on the screen, but just look at the bars, not so much the numbers here in this case. For example, healthcare very much performing in line with the movement of the dollar. Something that does not would be over here, like industrials, right? The correlation's not that great. This is just looking over 5 years. You could zoom out further as well. Tech lately has not been, right? So when we look at these international revenues and go, oh my gosh, the dollar's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, that's not good for these guys. It's not the end-all be-all, right? It's just another way to look at it. Earnings can affect this, of course. Things that we have going on here with maybe stimulus and the fact of in the new bill that they just proposed. Talk about that in a minute. You've got things that can weigh on that there. So something to be wary of, right? A strong and strengthening dollar is not helpful to certain sectors. It is less impactful for other sectors like you've seen. If we go back and look at this screen here, but still something to take a look at there. Now, it does have an impact on stocks. So what I did is I said, let's break it down even further. Let's take the tech sector because most people are going to know those stocks versus materials. And let's actually look at the stocks that get the majority of their revenues overseas. Have you noticed that some of your stocks are a little bit weaker if you happen to own these here? Starting with up at the top, let's see if we make this bigger. Probably not. I don't think I can make that any bigger. Oh, a little bit. Okay. So Cirrus Logic, only 1.3% of their revenues come from here in the States. They are strongly affected by the strengthening dollar, or if they have not been, they will be at some point. You got a lot of semiconductors in there: Qualcomm, Lam Research, AMAT, Texas Instruments, Marvell. Looking down the list here, I just put them in order. Those most exposed recently to getting more of their revenues overseas. We went all the way down to 50% here. Even some names that you might find to be kind of local. Local-ish, right? Avnet. Oh, I've seen one of those. I know what they do. They get a lot of their revenue from overseas there, right? Jabil, we have one here in town here, gets a lot of their revenue from overseas. So that dollar, when you see them come out with earnings and they talk about the FX headwinds, that's exactly what they're talking about. Strengthening dollar, weakening currency overseas there, if you're following along on that. AMD, any semiconductor is going to be on this list when we're talking about the tech sector there. I found eBay rather interesting that here in the U.S., we don't use eBay as much, apparently, right? They get a total of 59, just call it 60% of their revenues overseas. Right, so eBay more popular, less here than there. Solar Edge, getting into some solars. You got Apple in there. Just wanted to show that, and Visa, of course. They're not just swiping cards here in the States. You got that as well. Also, Match.com. I thought that was pretty cool. The dating sites there. They make a lot of their 50-50, right? Revenue overseas. It's kind of cool. I don't know, something to look at there. So we rank them by exposure there for you to take a look at. It's very easy to do this for other sectors as well if you worry that the dollar is going to continue to get stronger there. Is that interesting? Should we expand on that at some point, or is that just rather boring? Do you prefer the stock stuff? It's summertime. The markets tend to be as they have been. And so I go, what could we teach? How could we add some value today? That's kind of our mentality around here. All right, there were only 3 new highs and 3 new lows, even by the end of the day there, so not really much to cover there. They're the same names that you've seen. We'll skip that and save you the effort on that one. Stocks in the news. Let's do it. Do we have something today? Oh, let's go over here. We'll do stocks in the news there. Those are airplanes. Ooh, I like airplanes. Boeing in the news there. They got an order from Delta, ordered 100 737 MAX 10s with an option to buy 30 more, something like that. That's going to be $17 billion, right? Scratch that check. There's a big air show going on overseas right now, and so they were all excited to promote that one there. They're making about 31 planes a month, but they can't get these planes back in the air, so we've got to work to get through the FAA issues there. And the CEO obviously is very confident that they can do that. Said lots of things about showing a convincing reason why everything has been addressed. All the technology's changed, the pilot errors that caused a couple crashes there. They're working hard to get that done there, but slow progress. I'll go over here. We've got other stocks in the news. Alphabet. I don't know if you noticed, it's trading $100, $110 right in there. They did do their, I believe it was a 20-for-1 split, officially was there. They got banned by Russia, banned some of their content and fined them quite a bit of money, actually. I don't know how that works, whether they're allowed to do that. But anyways, you got Alphabet trading a little bit lower on the day, even after the split. Remember, splits don't do anything for a stock. All we did was, it's just a reporting transaction. That's all it is. There's no benefit. There's no reason to believe the stock will go back to 1,000. It's just a simple change in accounting. That's all it is, right? So I always get that question where people say that. What's the other one? Is there another one? Oh, okay. Goldman Sachs in the news there. They reported earnings there. They beat on earnings and revenue. They raised their dividend 25%, which is pretty good because they were paying $2, I believe, for the dividend there. You might have noticed, we talked about this last week, where loan credit reserves. after the stress test, a lot of these banks had to raise them, JP Morgan being one of them. These guys don't have to. They're not big in that consumer loan space. They're getting there with Marcus and what they're working on, but not really the case for them. They have a smaller loan portfolio. 55% of their revenues came from trading commodities, bonds, different bonds, and Forex, right? They expect that to continue because those markets are all over the friggin' place there. So they expect elevated trading volumes, as they said, which it's going well for them. So that's fine if we see those elevated trading volumes there. And so all of that helped them offset a pullback in asset management. They manage, obviously, very wealthy accounts. We use them as our custodian here, just kind of luckily. And so, obviously, our client accounts are there. I don't think many other advisors can actually say that. So, a little tooting of the horn, so to speak. But so think about it. The stock market pulls back. Every portfolio is pulled back to some degree. They have pulled back in just the last quarter the entire equivalent of Jazz Wealth. So, over just about $250 million in a pullback. So we manage about $250 million. So that they're not getting the revenue on that. They had $250 million more they were charging on. They now do not have that much. They don't get the revenue on that. So it's good that their trading divisions there, Forex, commodities, and bonds, managed to pick up the slack a little bit. The CEO says inflation is officially entrenched in the economy, but should lower in the later half of the year. I think a lot of you probably agree on that as well. You got NVIDIA a little bit higher here today. How about this? Oh, Miss Nancy Pelosi. No shame at all. So she votes for a bill that would, in the long run, pay out over $200 billion to companies like NVIDIA. She says, oh, that's a bipartisan deal. We're going to push that through. And then pretty much immediately goes and sells her Visa and buys a bunch of NVIDIA. This is public news. We all know it's happening. It's insider trading, but she's allowed to do it. That is the worst thing on the planet. Nonetheless, the stock's higher today. You know why? Because of that bill and because everybody wants to follow Nancy Pelosi. There's whole algorithms to just follow her right now. But somehow she and others, by the way, get away with that in Congress. Absolute just garbage, rip-off, stinky thing there. You got a problem? Yeah, it wasn't her. It was her husband. Well, it was her husband.
Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't her.
So Cody's over here.
I don't know why you're throwing those allegations out there. You're
defending?
She had no knowledge of it.
She had no knowledge, she said. It was her husband. That's right. I should be careful there. She come knocking on this door.
Unbelievable.
That's probably the only person I would try to tackle. But no, okay. So it was her husband, right? She didn't know about his trading habits there. A stupid ripoff. It's just unbelievable. All right, let's try it again. Nope, not there. Starbucks. They are gauging interest in possibly selling off 1,000 of their UK stores. Those stores did about $400 million total revenue there, but sales are not back to where they were pre-COVID. And they said, well, they're not selling them. They're just saying, any interest? They hired a company just to go out there and kind of gauge the interest a little bit. Is that something we should look into? And we'll see what happens there. But that's kind of rumbled around in the news today. Office Depot, they said, hey, we're selling stuff again. I don't know who's going to Office Depot. I don't think we even have one around here. Well, we're selling stuff again. Things are good. We're going to beat earnings. It's coming up. And because of that, we're going to buy back $600 million worth of our stock. So that was in the news there as well. And that's pretty much it. Oh, if you're a lumber futures trader, think of it as a split. The CME Group is going to change lumber futures to be about 75% of what they were. It means the margin requirement comes down. That's essentially a split. It's a fancy, because it's futures, they don't call it a split. The CME Group controls the actual margin requirements, the capital required, and all that. So they're changing it. They're lowering it, trying to get some more action there, because lumber futures had been wiggling around quite a bit. Remember last year? Just took off out of nowhere, right? So if you're a lumber futures trader, or you've considered adding a different thing there to your mix and you like trading futures, maybe you look at lumber futures. There may be some volume coming in there. I don't know, but that came out today. I saw it on my little thing, so I thought I'd point that out. All right, earnings this week. Netflix tomorrow. That's the big one there. You've also got J.B. Hunt in the transport space, Lockheed Martin, Johnson & Johnson, Hasbro, Halliburton, and Ally Bank. We will see what happens there. I'll let the stream catch up and try to take your questions while I reset. And yeah, hopefully you learned something today. That Pelosi thing really bugs me, though. You know what I mean? Really bugs me. Like the politicians go, I get it. They're always going to debate. We're always going to like something that someone says and something that someone else, disagrees with. That's fine. That's nothing's new. But the fact that they get away with that, and it's not just Democrats. I think the Republican last year. Remember his name? The Republican last year. There was a guy, kind of a no-namer. He beat all of them, but people want to pick on Pelosi because she's really mean. Yeah. She is a legendary investor. Well, her husband is a legendary investor. He's an incredible stock picker. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Yep. Apple sold off pretty much, started about 11 o'clock today, I think, and then kept rolling throughout the day. You don't want to know that Apple's slowing their hiring. We don't want to see that. Netflix to report tomorrow. Remember, wild moves on earnings. Look, you can see it on the chart there. Last two earnings cycles have been massive moves to the downside. Don't you kind of want to bet on a move to the upside here? A little bit? No? Contrarian? All right. Maybe not. Yeah. I mean, no wonder. Straitjacket's got it, right? It's like, what? We're all in the wrong business. No wonder these people want to be in Congress and they don't want term limits and things like that. Yeah, let's go be in Congress. Put your ear to the door and go, yeah, NVIDIA, go buy that one there. Tell your spouse to. Crazy, man. You want to see MicroStrategy's under, let's check, because I think I saw them on my earnings are coming up for them. They lose a ton of money, but let's see. Been a couple quarters. They made $1.86. 2 quarters ago, they lost $8.41. Looks like a one-time charge, but then they came along in April, lost $10. So although you want it down to 180, 190, you're going to want to see that they continue to lose money to the same degree. Remember, people find it positive if down here you go, you lost $10 last time, you only lost 5 this time, 7, something like that. Okay, we're moving in the right direction. That warrants a bump in the stock. You usually see that. It's a little bit odd, but maybe they're on the path to getting back and get back going there. If both parties full of it, why your first comment played victim with your guy? Maybe that's not to me. I don't know what that means. We're the victims, right? You like what Joe Manchin's doing there? I'm not familiar enough with the whole bill, but I know he's been pretty vocal about that. You think money's going to move away from utilities once the market starts to recover? Yes. Yeah, I definitely do. Because in order to get the market to recover, you need tech, financials, or tech, healthcare, and financials. So that would just by default be a shift of money away from real estate and utilities, things like that. Yeah. The GDP print comes in positive. It'd be pretty shocking. It definitely warrant people the ability to go out there and buy. I think you see more index level buying, probably less stock picking there. But we've got, a week to go? 10 days? Yeah. Oh, there you go. I got you guys fired up. I love it when we don't talk politics much because, unless it has to do with money, what's the point? But I love when I throw some of these comments out there and then you look over and it's like, yeah, it gets people focused in, huh? Hoping for a rebound in gold in Newmont. I think you're right to say even a dead cat bounce is right for a short-term trade on something like Newmont, the GDX. So you're not thinking wrong. I wouldn't disagree with you there. No, I wouldn't disagree with you. What would you want to see before you put money into green energy stocks? We do have money in green energy stocks. So it's not like a personal or political belief or anything. We do have them in our portfolios. So I don't have anything against them. Most people don't ask for it. But if it adds to it, yeah, I'm all about it. Yeah. You like that FXI, huh? So you've been riding that breakout there. Lost a little steam, no problem there. China was great overnight, actually. They held so early in their morning, late our night last night, they started higher. They actually held it. Remember, they're working on a bunch of stimulus over there in a really weird way by drawing from future years to supplement this year and stuff. So it's not like over here where we just hand out money or whatever. Yeah. There you go. Oh, solar, anything solar related. You're right there, Andrew, with the TAN, FAN, the 2 ETFs you can use to look at that. Plug Power. What do you mean with Plug Power? No comments on Plug Power there. Dead money at the moment. I guess nobody goes on Truth Social. Oh, why was there something there? Anyway, my social media is like Controller, Zillow, looking at airplanes. I like watching properties just to see what sells there. Cruise lines, yeah, very good point. All the cruise lines strong today. Good pop. Now, you like seeing that. Really beating down stock or industry, really beating down industry, but yet the stock market just kept getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and these guys barely budged there. That's a good sign. It's a good start anyways. Yeah. All right, got you guys all fired up. I'll let you leave the stream here and go talk with your family about politics. I just think it's wrong, man. I don't think anybody even agrees with that. You think that's something that should be allowed? I think there's a lot of things we can all agree on out there in the world, and I think the attention should be put back on that myself. But that's just me. I'm just a nobody sitting here doing this. I appreciate you guys watching. You enjoy the rest of your day or evening. We'll be back tomorrow to do this all over again, and thanks. We'll see you then.